All right, so I wanted to give you a visual of what we're going to be doing in this video. This is just a generic Laravel app that got fired up when I did Laravel New, but I also now have some different options I hadn't had before, such as login and register. And so now I have a login and I get this little form that's allowing me to log in. I currently am not registered, so I'm going to register with whatever information. It'll register the account. I'm not going to do it in front of us. It'll also give us the ability to forget your password. So if I were to put in a password, it will send a reset link to my email. And so we're going to, seems like a very lengthy process, but if you look at this video, relatively speaking, I haven't finished it yet, but I'm pretty sure you'll be surprised at how relatively short a video it is considering how much we're going to be doing. So let's dive in and make it happen. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our command prompt. I'm going to put this on pause and get my windows together for the video. All right, see you there. All right, so steps I needed to do to get this project started. CD space, desktop. I'm going to do this on my desktop. I'm going to do a Laravel new, and I'm going to call this auth example. And I've already run it, so once you run yours, then it does all of its spinning and looking cool stuff. Then you can log into that, oops, I spelled it wrong, CD into that folder. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go back into Laravel. This is hopefully a refresher from when we did Bootstrap. We're going to go into Laravel. We're going to go into the documentation. And we're going to go to front end. And we're going to go to front end scaffolding. And then when we scroll down, we're going to do something a little bit different. Last time, remember, we did composer require Laravel UI. So make sure you do that in your command line. And then this time, we're going to use a different command. We use this PHP Artisan UI Bootstrap to wire up our Bootstrap. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this line instead. So PHP Artisan UI Bootstrap .auth --auth, because it's going to help us wire up some authentication. And so you're going to type those two things in here. So first you're going to type in this composer part. And so you're going to do that, and then you're going to let it spin. I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again and waste our video time. And then you can put this on pause. You can pause and put it on pause. Anyway, and then you're going to run this particular command and let it spin and do its hoo-ha. And then when it's finished, it should look something like this. So the next thing you're going to do is run this command. So I can just copy and paste that. Remember, that's installing it into our node modules folder and then compiling all of our code so it's ready to go. I have not done that, so I'm going to put this video on pause, run that, open up Visual Studio Code in this directory, and I will meet you back here then. Beautiful. All right, everything should look like this now. And so I said I was going to open up Visual Studio Code. I didn't, but I'll do that now. Code and period, and that should open up Visual Studio Code. And of course it did, but in a different monitor. So let me drag that over here, stalling, there we go. All right, I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to close out my command prompt, and I can work in Visual Studio Code, which I'm going to open up a, let's see. So control and backtick. I would like to start the server because I want to see how things are looking at this point in time. So to start the server, what do we do? PHP Artisan serve, and it should bring up a server somewhere. There it goes. So I'm going to bring this browser window down after I figure out where it opens up. And let's see what we've got so far. So without having done anything and using that new auth command, let's see what's happening. So already, look how much has been created for us. I have a menu that says login, and it has a login page for me. I don't have any login information, so I don't know. Let's see what happens. Kirsten at alpha, let's do this one. Let's do Markley K at otc.edu. And then a password, which I haven't put one in yet. Let's see what happens if I log in. So I don't know why things are running so slowly for me, but they are. Nope, okay, so it's already unhappy. It's already squawking because it says I need a database. We have not attached this to a database, so I'm going to do that in a minute. Forget my password, so it looks like that's already wired up. Let's just see what happens when I click on it. Already wired up, so I just have to somehow link that to probably an email client, foreshadowing. Register, also wired up for me, so I have one already. But again, nothing's going to work because I don't have a database set up. So that's what we're going to tackle next is the database part. Yes. All right. So here's how we do that. Make sure you get your XAMPP started and open up phpMyAdmin, and I will meet you there. All right, so I'm in my phpMyAdmin, and what we're going to do for this video is just create a new database. I'm just going to start from scratch, and I'm going to call this auth example to match my project name, just so I can keep these two together at the moment. And it's going to create that database, and I can see the database, but it doesn't have any tables in it. Perfect. So let's see if I can bring these two together. Perfect. And I'm going to bring this window over and bring this one back so we can work with that database. All right, so, but you didn't create any tables. I understand that. And if we look at, no, I've already gotten rid of it. All right, if we look at the error message that we got, it said something about a users table. So should I demonstrate that? I'm sure we can figure that one out. Anyway, so that's my rooster, Chief. Good morning, Chief. All right, so let's look at something we haven't seen before. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I'm going to introduce it to you. So in these folders, there's this thing called database. And there's a folder called migrations. And in migrations, there's 3 different files at the moment. One that's called create users table, and they're well named. They're named specifically so that it looks very much like, and it's synonymous with, creating a git commit message. In other words, each one of these is very specific to its job in that file. And migrations is exactly that. Migrations is a way for users to add and delete and create tables and columns in tables and change table structure around so that if multiple people were working on the same project, you wouldn't have to call up your teammate and say, hey, I added a column to, or I changed this or that. We could run what we call migrations, which is various stages of the table or the database, and everybody's version, therefore, would be the same. All right, so let's just look at one of these, and I would encourage you to look at them further on your own. But in general, what we have going on here with the create users table, intuitively you can figure out that this is probably going to create a users table. And if you look at, there's 2 main functions in each of these. One is up and one is down. And what that means is if I were running the up function, then I would want to update all of the changes that might be occurring in this particular database. So any other migrations that would run, maybe there was another migration that added another field to users. For example, I don't know what else you would use, but maybe address or something, but which may or may not be appropriate, but you get the idea. And so up simply means things that we need to update or create if it's not already created, which in our case, we don't have a users table. And then down is a function that runs if we need to what we call roll back. In other words, ooh, I really shouldn't have added addresses to this table. I probably should have created a different table that maintained addresses. And so you would do something called rollback. And these are directions that would take place and if I wanted to go backwards to reset sort of thing. So very similar to Git, using Git and GitHub. Git being migrations, and then the idea with GitHub is that people can therefore update their version and make sure that everything is current. That was a long-winded speech. All right, so the point here is that we need to, first of all, go into our environment package, and you're going to want to set your your database to the things that you've already created or that we just talked about. So this is auth example. I'm just going to keep root and an empty password because that's a thing. So I'll leave that alone. A thing meaning that this is already created ahead of time, or you can put your username and password that you created for your guitar database. It should all work, but I'm just going to leave mine as is. And then let's see. So the next thing I need to do, now that I have this database connected, I can run something called PHP artisan make migration. I think that's all I need to do. And I'll just see what happens if I run that. Some Jeopardy music will play. Oh, I did the wrong command. So let's see. What is the command? I don't remember. Maybe it's just make migration. Create a new I'm not trying to create a new. I think I just need to run. Sorry. So PHP artisan. Maybe it's just migration. Migrate. Sorry, there we go. That's what we needed to do. So I just had the wrong command in there. So we just needed to do PHP artisan migrate. Go ahead and migrate to the whatever files, whatever PHP files are here that discuss doing the migrations. And let's just see what happens. So somewhere, while I flail here, I'm going to find that I am going to find my, here it is, sorry. I'm going to find my table or my database, and I'm going to refresh my auth example, and let's see what happens. So you can see that tables were created on my behalf, and if we read what is in these PHP files, these tables were created directly from these migrations. So failed jobs, I'm not going to deal with that. Migrations is a table that's keeping track of the migrations that were done to this database. Password resets, that might be interesting, and then users. So on my behalf, there were all of these fields that were created, and we are going to use the users table. All right, so now I suppose we should test that. And so make sure that if your the server is not running, if you should have used words, and forget it. Just use words like close your server and then restart your server. So now that we've done that, I'm going to restart my server, PHP artisan serve, and we're going to refresh our server page. So I'll bring that back down here, because the idea is now that we've hooked up to a database, then we should have, let's see, so I should now be able to log in. So I'm going to try that. So Markley K, oh, I can't log in. So let's just see what happens. Log in, and let's see if I get an error message. Oh yes, so it's already letting me know. So this is already built in, nothing I added ahead of time, it was already built in. So I guess I'm going to have to register. So I will do that. I will register Markley K at otc.edu. Oops, I guess that's my name. Kirsten, Markley K at OTC. I'm just going to do, let's just try to and see if it doesn't match. Let's see what happens. Oh, my passwords must at least be 8 characters. Okay. And now I'm going to see what happens if they don't match. Okay, so those don't match, and let's see what happens. Oh, my password, and this is all built into it. I didn't add any of this. It was already done by Laravel auth. So that's kind of cool, right? So now if I register, choose note save, now it says I'm logged in. Sweet. So now I'm logged in. There's my name. And if I click on log out, that's a thing. That's good. So let's go ahead and log out just to see that work. And I'm logged out. That's good. And then if I look in my database, let's just verify users. Let's refresh the users table, and we should see data put in there. My name should be in there. There it is. All right, so we've got some information put in. Notice that the password has been hash keyed, and so that's for security, obviously. So again, nothing that we have to deal with. It's already done for us automatically. So I guess we've successfully logged in. Let's see, what else do we need to do? So there's another piece to this puzzle, and that's going to be that we're going to have to, I'm currently logged out, right? So I want to log in, but I forgot my password. So let's try this and see what happens. So I used Markley K at OTC, and I tried to refresh my password. And we haven't wired up an email client, so I'm assuming that this is going to fail. as I talk incessantly and wait for the little button at the top here to, there we go, cannot send message without a sender address, which isn't really indicative of what happened, but let's figure out how to make that part work. All right, so to do our email client, I'm back into my environment folder, and in my environment folder, I've already taken the time before this video started back up again to add the Google Mail SMT settings, and that's right off of the configuration instructions in the settings in Gmail. And so I put in the SMT, Google Mail. In this case, it's I used 465. There's my username and my password. And then for encryption type, I left this to null. Just kind of an FYI, this app name, if you're curious, is referring to this environment name up here. So app name is Laravel. In this case, maybe I'll have it send from my auth example app, and we'll save that. And now we're going to head and run PHP artisan serve, get it served up again. Whoops. Oops is always a good command. Artisan serve. And then we shall start this up again and make sure that our email gets sent out. And now things are started. We'll refresh the screen just to make sure that it's got the most current version. And forgot my password. And there we go. And we'll type in markleyk@otc.edu and send the password. And this time, after waiting patiently for the little ball to bounce back and forth up in my browser tab, and boom, we see that our email request has been sent to our email. And the only thing that won't work is I can't click on that email for the password reset because this isn't on a live server at the moment. But anyway, hopefully this video gave you some insight as to how cool Laravel can be. Utilizing a framework does a lot of things for us, so we don't have to recreate the wheel. And in this video, we saw how we can utilize Laravel and Laravel UI package in order to get wired up a registration and login system for us. So now the next step would simply be to add that to our application.